moment. Now notice as we breathe in, the breath touching our nostrils, lungs expanding and chest area expanding, lower abdominal area expanding. When we breathe out, abdominal area contracts, the breath, the chest area contracts, and then the breath leaves our nostrils as we breathe out. This is what is happening all the time as we breathe in and breathe out. So, also along with this, we notice feeling arising, perception arising, thoughts arising, and consciousness arising. And they all passing away as quickly as they are arisen. Feeling arises and passes away, perception and passes away, thought arises and passes away, consciousness arises and passes away. When we see this reality, our mind naturally does not try to hold on to anything, because holding on to anything is just mere dream. It doesn't work, because nothing is static or stay the same. Always it changes. They all changes. When we let go of our clinging to anything, the body relaxes, the breath relaxes, mind relaxes. In that relaxed state of mind, metta feeling arises, and rigidity, uptightness, anger is no longer there. And then compassion arises. That takes care of restlessness and worry. When restlessness and worry fades away, compassion prevails. We become even more relaxed, more calm and peaceful. Then we become more energetic, because we see what really is happening in us every moment we breathe in and out. And then when energy arises, sleepiness and drowsiness fade away. When sleepiness and drowsiness fade away, we become even more delightful, and then our joy arises because we see the results of our practice, positive, wholesome results. Then doubt fades away, and then the mind becomes even more calm, relaxed, peaceful, and full of joy. Then that leads to tranquility, calm, more peaceful state. That's called passaddhi. When that increases in degrees, have concentration arises. When concentration arises, we stay in that state and notice without verbs, ideas, concepts. Mentally, we become fully aware of the present moment of things changing. The changing or impermanence can be noticed directly, immediately, as things change now and here and now, this moment. So every moment or is a new moment. Every rising and falling is new. So there always is constant, continuous motion. And then we feel, we realize very deeply that our mind becomes very clear, and we see that there is nothing static, permanent is remaining in our body, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness. All change always. And with this experience, we gain deeper insight. With this, let us continue our practice. Dukkhapatta cha nidukkha Bhayapatta cha nibhaya Sokapatta cha nisoka Hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. With this metta thought in mind, metta wish in mind, let us continue our Dhamma talk. Friends, we are in a very important moment in our life. We want to continue this Dhamma talks on Satipatthana Sutta. Today my talk is on the feeling, one of the five aggregates. Feeling is called an aggregate because there are many kinds of feelings and they all together call feeling aggregate. There are, according to Bahu Vedaniya Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, there are 108 kinds of feelings. You may surprise, how can one know all these feelings? Well, it is not very difficult. These 108 are like this. We have pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral feeling. Three feelings. And these three feelings multiply by 2. Samisa, Niramisa. That is the feeling with greed, hatred, and delusion, and feeling without greed, hatred, and delusion. When these three kinds of feelings multiply by 2, we have 6 feelings. And these 6 feelings multiply by 6 according to our senses. We have 6 senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Each of them has these 6 kind of feelings depending on situation. And then we have 36 kinds of feelings. 6 times 6. And then this 36 is multiplied by 3, past, present, and future. This is how we get 108 kinds of feelings. Now, this section simply says such is feeling, such its origin, such its passing away. So this is very simple without any elaboration. We see this. Such is the feeling, such its arising, such its passing away. So the meditator has to figure out what this such means. Such here means this is how the feeling arises, whether it is pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, with greed, hatred, and illusion, or without, through eyes in the past. Let us take one of them, eyes. We have any moment we can have feeling. When we close our eyes and meditate, we remember a particular feeling, or we feel certain feeling in the present moment. Especially when we breathe in and out, we feel the breath touching our nostrils, expanding our lungs area, and expanding our the lower abdominal area, and contracting. These are the, we notice them through the feeling. We feel breath coming in, we feel expanding and contracting, and then when we breathe out, the same thing will happen. Similar feeling arises. Now, this feeling, now we have to find out what this feeling is, whether it is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, or with greed or without greed, with hatred or without hatred, with delusion or without delusion. I think very uh, clearly any meditator can notice the feeling one has in meditation, during meditation, whether the feeling is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. That feeling is non without greed, hatred, and delusion. This is called non-worldly feeling. Non-worldly feeling means feeling without greed, and hatred, and delusion. Why I say that? Because nobody meditates to increase one's greed, increase one's hatred, or increase one's delusion. Nobody wants to have confusion in their mind. They don't expect anything in material, anything material. They simply want to make the mind pure and clean. So the motive there is not to gain anything material. And therefore that feeling is, we may say, spiritual feeling, a feeling of getting rid of our suffering. However, when we experience a painful feeling, if we are not mindful, then that painful feeling can turn into hatred, anger, resentment, because you may get upset with yourself. I have been trying to meditate. Everybody else is meditating peacefully, but I cannot meditate peacefully. My mind is always full of various kind of impure states. greed, hatred, and so forth, jealousy, fear, and so forth. Therefore, I cannot meditate. I am useless as far as meditation is concerned. I am not for that. When this kind of thinking arises in the mind, you convert your simple, painful feeling into unpleasant, into mundane, or feeling with greed or hatred or delusion. And therefore, when the feeling arises, Buddha asks us to see such is feeling. This is the feeling. This is plus unpleasant feeling, painful feeling. That is very normal. That is natural. When I sit like this, my goal is very lofty goal, and I want to achieve that goal. This goal is not going to make me famous or uh, get recognition in the society and so forth. These are not our motive. Our motive is purely personal motive to get rid of our own inner impure states. And therefore, that time we have to understand what this feeling is. That is first step. In the first step, we recognize that feeling as it is. That is why in Vedananupasana, we studied earlier one section or one section of mindfulness called mindfulness of feelings. In that section we studied, we identify one feeling among feelings. So the word you see, Vedanasu, Vedananupasivayarati. Vedanasu means plural. Vedananupasi means seeing the feeling. See the feeling in the feelings, among feelings. That means there are so many feelings, as I mentioned earlier, 108 kind of feelings, and now we are experiencing one of them. And when we are mindful, we can continue our practice without converting this feeling into worldly feelings. We continue it as continue, pay attention to that feeling, to stay with that present feeling. Present feeling is without greed, hatred, or delusion. Present feeling is just the feeling as we sit in a certain posture, feeling arises. And normally we have to understand this is not the way we spend our day. We even sit, sometimes somebody may sit in a full lotus or half lotus or ordinary cross-legged. Anyway, one may sit in one place for a certain period of time. During that time, naturally, discomfort can arise because everything is impermanent. You assume the most comfortable posture. As you keep sitting in that posture, slowly and gradually, you develop a certain discomfort. And we understand that. And when we understand that mindfully, we pay attention to it and learn impermanence from that feeling. This feeling was not before, now it is arisen, and this feeling is not going to be there permanently. It is going to fade away, and so forth. You can very easily rationalize this may be sometimes your thinking. Sometimes you have to do the thinking like in Deda Vitaka Sutta, Buddha mentioned where we have to use our thinking. We have to think only for the purpose of getting rid of that negative mental state. So, then how this feeling arises? Feeling arises, this is the feeling. You first identify the feeling. Feeling, become aware of one of these feelings. You may not have to remember all the 108 feelings, but it is very easy to remember if you want to. At first you think that there are three feelings, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, and you multiply this by two, by with samisa and niramisa, make it six, and then these six can arise from each of the senses. Since we have six senses, there are this, when these six multiply by those six, we have 36, and then past, present, and future, when we multiply by this 36 by 3, past, present, and future, you will 108 kinds of feelings. Now, so when the Buddha said, such is feelings, that is what it means. Such is feeling means this is that one of those 108 kinds of feelings. This is one. So once you identified that, when you identify it, then the next step in the discourse says, such its origin. Such its origin. That means such, this is how it arises. This is the origin of that particular feeling. How does it originate? The originate of any feeling is the same. That is senses, sensory object, consciousness. When these three come together, contact, then as soon as you contact, as soon as the eye contact, then feeling arises depending on eye contact. Chakku sampasaja vedana. Chakku sampasaja vedana. So the fifth step of the seeing process, sixth step, the fifth step, number 5, is feeling. First is the eye, second is the object, third is consciousness, fourth is contact, and then the fifth is feeling. Now, you cannot have feeling without these previous 4 steps. You cannot have feelings. Now I mention only how we get the feeling through the eyes, eye contact. Same thing happens when we have ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, mind contact. For all these 6 kind of contacts, from all these 6 kind of contacts, feeling arises. Otherwise, feeling does not arise independent of anything. You deliberately don't create it, and somebody else create it. It happens when these factors come together. When these factors come together, if one of them is absent, you won't get feeling. For instance, you have physical feeling. You have to have a body, and there has to be some object, tangible object. Then consciousness must be there. Then when these come together, contact arises. And then as soon as the contact arises, feeling arises. Depending on the kind of contact, whether the feeling is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, can arise. So when this happens, we have to understand this feeling was not there before. This particular feeling was not there before. But this particular feeling arises at this moment due to these factors. When these factors are absent, this feeling does not arise. Here, there again, you see the dependent origination. When something happens, it always has some connection with something else. This particular feeling is connected with other factors. Sound, for instance, sound also like that. You have an ear in good shape, good condition. You can hear well, and then sound is produced either by yourself or by somebody else or something else outside or inside for you to hear. So as soon as the sound is generated, the sound waves hit the eardrums, and then that vibrates. Then it converts into the certain meanings, and so on. This happened. So ear and the sound, and you have to be conscious to hear to make the sound what do you call to be heard. When the sound to be heard, you have to be conscious. When these three combine together, ear, sound, consciousness, and this happens so quickly, and contact arises. This is in Pali called Tinnan Sangati Passo. Tinnan Sangati Passo. This combination of these three is contact. Combination of these three is contact. And then contact arises, feeling arises through the sound. Sota Sampasaja Vedana. So these six kind of feelings are called Chaku Sampasaja Vedana. Feeling arises through eye contact. Feeling arises through ear contact. Feeling arises through nose contact, and so forth. The feeling arises through these senses, through the contact of this object, combination of these four factors. So when four factors combine together, feeling arises as the fifth factor. So this is what is called this such its arising. This is the way how that feeling arises. When that feeling was arisen in the past exactly the same way as it is arising now. In future, it arises the same way as it arises now. Future will arise as it arises now. Past was past, this feeling arose as it does now. So all this you combine, past and future, in the present. So your awareness must be focused on the present moment, present feeling. When you focus the mind on the present feeling, other two naturally you can understand. The past you can remember, the future you can infer logically that this is how this feeling arises. And also, another thing is In the Vedana we say, iti ajjattanga vedanasu vedananupasivirati, vaidhava vedanasu vedananupasivirati. That means this is how this feeling arising here in me right now, as this is how it arose in the past, this will be the way that arise in future. And when you have this very clear understanding of these stages of feeling, then you can compare your feeling with others, and you can think, well, others also feels exactly like this. There is no difference from my feeling and their feelings. So the whole universe, everywhere, the feeling arises in this way. Bahidhavas vedana suvedananupasi verati. Internal feeling as well as an external feeling. External feeling doesn't mean that you go and feel how other feels, how the people feels. You cannot feel how they feel, but you can infer their feeling, knowing your feeling very well. That is the best thing. You are the what you call a criterion. You are the sort of testimony to understand the feeling of others. And this is why the Buddha said, Attarnam upamankatva nahaneya naghate. Comparing oneself to others, one should not hurt others. When one understands one's own feeling, the person will never think of doing something to hurt somebody. But the person, as the person knows that person's feeling, pleasant feeling, beautiful feeling, and that is the feeling that person wants to arouse in other person's feelings. For instance, when we have metta in us, we feel very comfortable feeling. And that is the feeling we want others also to have. And therefore, our dealing with the rest of the world depends on how we feel. Somebody can say something to hurt somebody without knowing, without thinking, without understanding mindfully how that person feels himself. If he does not think that way, if he is not mindful to understand how he feels, then he can say something to hurt others. If I practice metta, I feel very comfortable and peaceful. So I want to do something to for others to feel metta in their mind. So knowing one's own feeling, how the feeling, identifying feeling as it is, and then knowing how it arises and how it passes away. The feeling passes away, any feeling passes away when other factors disintegrate. For instance, when the feeling arises through the eye, when eye is withdrawn, the object is withdrawn, consciousness is no longer there, contact is no longer there, then that feeling also no longer there. So they arise in certain way and they disappear in the same way that they arose. And that is what Buddha wanted us to understand from our own personal experience. Friends, we can never learn this from a book or from somebody, but from yourself. And that is why the Buddha said, Pachattang veditabbo vinyuhi. All wise individuals, this should be understood by every wise individual by himself or herself. Immediately effective. This combination happens, feeling arises that one sees immediately. So, with this friend, I want to end this section today uh, and continue our metta practice and continue our metta wish. May all those who are now suffering from the COVID 19 or any other sickness, may they rapidly recover and continue to live their peaceful, happy life and liberate themselves from samsaric suffering. There are many people who have lost their relatives, loved ones, friends, and so forth. They may be grieving. I know our personal friends have lost their relatives, and we want to wish them to be free them from their grief and wishing their past relatives to be peaceful and happy and continue to exist in samsara until they attain liberation from suffering. And there are many doctors, nurses, hospital staffs helping many patients to recover from various diseases, including COVID 19. May these doctors, nurses, and hospital staffs continue their wonderful service without being affected by any of these virus and let them live long to continue their wonderful service. And there are many leaders in the world who have done a lot of good work and let them continue their wonderful service. And we want to wish them all peace, happiness, and liberation from samsara. And there are other leaders who are still working hard to find solutions. May they be successful. May they have vision, understanding, courage, determination, patience, above all, wisdom and compassion to do something better. With this, I wish all of you happy day. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Bante.
you,
Thank you,
Bante.
Bhante.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Bante.
Bante.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Bhante.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Thank you so
sadhu,
much.
sadhu.